Today, I want to talk about something that perfectly illustrates why vulnerability management isn't just about checking boxes and is about understanding the context in your organization. You know, when your GPS says 15 minutes to drive to get to your location and something in your brain goes, challenge accepted, or maybe that's just me. Well, it turns out that threat actors had the same response when Microsoft labels a vulnerability as less likely to be exploited. On March 11th, Patch Tuesday, Microsoft released its usual buffet of security updates. Among them was CVE-2025-24054, an NTLM hash leaking vulnerability that Microsoft rated as less likely to be exploited. However, just 8 days later, attackers had not only figured out how to exploit it, but were actively using it against government and private sector targets in Poland and Romania. And that's right, 8 days from patch to weaponization. So much for less likely, huh? Let's break down what this vulnerability actually does. CVE 2025-24054 allows attackers to leak victims' NTLM hashes over the network. Once attackers have this hash, they can attempt to brute force it or perform relay attacks to impersonate users and access systems with their privileges. What makes this particularly dangerous is how easy it is to trigger. Initially, attackers sent phishing emails with Dropbox-hosted zip files containing a malicious .library-ms file, and later just sent the library file directly and bypassed sending the zip altogether. Now, you might be wondering, what exactly is a .library-ms file? These are files that are used to define libraries in Windows Explorer, which combine items from multiple storage locations into a single virtual folder. So think of those document, music, and pictures folders you see in Windows File Explorer. They're managed using .library-ms files. But here's the kicker. Simply unzipping the archive, or even in some cases just viewing the folder in Windows Explorer, was enough to trigger the exploit. That's right, just looking at the file could compromise your system. Talk about lowering the barriers to entry. What started as targeted attacks in Eastern Europe quickly went international. Checkpoint researchers observed around 10 separate campaigns by March 25th, all aimed at harvesting these NTLM hashes. The stolen credentials were being sent to attacker-controlled servers located across Russia, Bulgaria, the Netherlands, Australia, and even Turkey. There's something else interesting. The checkpoint researchers noticed that stolen NTLM hashes were exfiltrated to a specific IP address previously flagged by Harfang Lab in January as linked to APT28, also known as Fancy Bear, a Russian-backed hacking group. Now, they're quick to point out there's no further information directly linking this IP to the group. Attribution is always tricky in cybersecurity, but it's worth noting. This exploitation highlights several critical lessons for all of us. First, have the ability to patch quickly. The window between patch release and exploitation is shrinking dramatically. 8 days is really nothing when it comes to technology. Second, and this is crucial, if you're relying solely on another company's exploitability rating for your vulnerability management program, you're doing it wrong. We've been pushing hard in vulnerability management to use exploitability to drive our responses, rather than just reacting to high CVSS scores. And that's good, but context always matters. Microsoft's exploitability index might be useful as one data point, but it can't account for your specific environment, your specific threat model, and your specific risk tolerance. This is why mature vulnerability management programs need to incorporate multiple sources of intelligence and contextualize them for your specific situation. So what's your take? Has your organization moved beyond CVSS scores to incorporate exploitability into your vulnerability management program? And if so, how are you contextualizing that information for your environment? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this breakdown valuable, hit that subscribe button for more insights on cybersecurity, vulnerability management, and the evolving threat landscape. Until next time, stay secure.